pipelines for industry disruptors. We do that with a done-for-you appointment setting service, prospecting strategy sessions, as well as sales training opportunities. So how'd I do, Ethan?
Awesome. And if you can literally, I can see your screen. If you can just go
Oh,
to view slideshow, we can see
yes,
the
I
whole
am.
screen.
Yes, I'm getting there. I just can't do two things at once.
Hmm. I'm schizophrenic, so I delegate.
How's that? Is that good for everyone? Okay,
Perfect.
perfect. Um,
Perfect.
okay, so 8 minutes, right? I'm gonna try to stay on track, which is why I did these slides. Guys, I have been in sales my entire career. And while I believe in taking massive action, I also realized that one of the things that holds most people back from seeing success in a sales strategy is their mindset. So I want to spend some time today really talking to you guys about some mindset shifts that you can see if these resonate for you. Would love feedback as we go. If you guys want to do the hand raise or throw something in the chat, feel free. And then we'll have a moment at the end for any questions or anything that you guys wanted to circle back on. So I love this quote. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. When you look at your sales pipeline right now, what you are looking at is most probably what you were doing 6 months ago. It's not about what you did yesterday or last week. And I think that's where a lot of times in sales, we get really frustrated because we don't see the instant gratification that we may see in other areas of the business when we do an action. It pays off in this way. Sales is much more about planting the seeds, watering every day, doing that consistent and persistent follow-up, and making sure that you don't lose momentum there. You know, I think this also goes to when are you going to change your approach, right? So if you are seeing this in your sales pipeline that, you're hitting your head against the wall and you're having the same problems over and over, or maybe you're seeing that the market has changed. This has been a wonky year, you guys. Like we've seen it in our own business. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market. There's a lot of hesitation out there. And if now is not the time to change your mindset and shift your perspective, I truly don't know what is. All right, so we're going to ask a couple questions. Would you consider the idea that sales isn't growth? So many people have this like nasty idea in their head of what sales is, right? We've either been sold to by some jerk, we got the used parking lot, the used car parking lot guy, like, what do I got to do to get you in the car? Like, we've all got that cheesy or like negative idea about what sales is. But I just want to give you an idea of like, what if it's not gross? What if sales is not hard? It's not cringy. You're just not doing it right. And that's not really your fault because most sales trainings out there, they tell you what to do and you do that, but it doesn't ever feel aligned for you. So either you back off of doing it or because it's not aligned, it doesn't really work. So I really like to talk about shifting your mindset and actually enjoying the activity of selling, because we're going to, again, take another mindset shift here about selling, what that actually means. But you were taught the wrong approach. And I was too. I came from New York City. I live in Charleston, South Carolina now. But I was up in New York and I was taught you get the objection and then you hit it with rebuttal tout close, right? And how to do that sales volley, that back and forth and keep going until you get them. And it works. I mean, it works. I broke company records. But what I did also is I racked up a massive amount of transactions, but zero relationships. And so I learned after hitting my head against the wall of having massive success, but really only short-lived, doing it their way, of changing my perspective. And rather than having sales, really focusing on building relationships. All right, so here's the fact, and most people are going to really hate this, but the bottom line is, you guys, outreach works. People want to do marketing. They want to bring the leads in through social media. They want people to be attracted to them, and all those things are amazing. We get a lot of our business that way and a lot through word of mouth and referral. I love it. But when you know that you have someone that you can help, That's when you create a targeted outreach strategy. And here's the proof. And this is a very small sampling. We've worked with over 200 clients on our campaigns. And most of them, you guys, have been through outreach, direct targeted outreach. I knew that we could help them, and I wanted to reach out and let them know why. And it wasn't selling anyone anything. But that is the proof for you. A little bit about me, guys. Obviously, beyond being a super fast talker, I've got my business. I started in 2018 after spending my whole career in sales and really developing expertise in top of the funnel activities. So prospecting and appointment setting. We do have an appointment setting service that we offer along with training and prospecting strategy. And then just personally, originally I'm from Boston, go Red Sox. And I live here in Charleston now with my son, Max. And that's who we are, what we do. All right. I have this all over my business. This is our tagline at Appreciated Asset. What you appreciate appreciates. And what that means is where you put your attention, where you put your focus is what will grow. So if you're putting your focus on bad sales strategy, guess what's going to happen? If you're putting your focus on clients that are not meant for you, you're going to get more clients that are not meant for you. What you appreciate appreciates. And I ask you to really keep that in mind, write it down. Because when you start seeing what's happening in your business right now, I guarantee you can track it back to where you've spent your focus and where you've had your attention placed. All right. So here's the biggest shift. What if I told you it's not your job to sell anyone anything? Which makes zero sense considering we're talking about sales mindset. But I truly mean this. I don't sell anyone anything. I don't want to convince anyone of anything. I don't want to close anybody. I've done it. I told you what happened when I did it. And it works when you have the sales training, right? But what if instead you educate people? Don't push anyone. Educate them. And maybe educate more people than you're currently educating, right? If you know you have a solution that can help people, you have to tell them about it. You have to. It is, if you have a heart of service and you're here to serve people and to help, then it is absolutely your responsibility to reach out and let people know how you can do that. And all that takes is, and I believe in cold calling, you guys. I think it's the fastest, most effective way to build rapport with your prospect wish list. But the fastest way to do that is to pick up the phone, you introduce yourself, and you tell them about who you are and what you do. It's all. Anything that happens from there, that's kind of on them. If someone's a jerk to you, guys, who cares? I mean, honestly, who cares? I love, this is my own quote, is that success is on the other side of where most people give up. Most people call someone once or twice, they get hung up on, and they're like, this doesn't work. They follow up on a lead 2 times after a sales call, and they don't call back, and they say, they're not interested, they don't want my thing. Meanwhile, that person is dealing with something that has nothing to do with you and isn't calling you back for reasons that have nothing to do with you or their interest in working with you. Because 99% of the time it isn't personal. People just have a lot going on right now. So staying consistent and persistent with efforts and with follow-up, that is the biggest place that I see salespeople miss the mark. And the biggest reason they miss the mark and don't continuously follow up is because they're telling themselves stories that are not true. I have heard some stories that clients have told me over the years of why people don't call them back. And I say, well, did they say that? No. Well, so you've just decided that for them, right? Like that is absolutely not fact. But you'd be amazed when you really question, why am I not following up? The stories that you're making up for yourself. All right, guys, I'm going to tell you that consistency, resilience, and faith, keeping those 3 at the center of your sales strategy, of your follow-up, of your attention. Those are the things, again, knowing that you have the right solution for the right people. Having the resilience that if someone is rude to you, man, hurt people hurt people. That has nothing to do with you. Someone who's going to be unkind to you because that's on them. That's ridiculous. And then the consistency of just reaching out, making it part of your daily activities of nurturing that sales pipeline. So don't be the quitter and don't be that person who quits before they see that success. And I mentioned this before, I got ahead of myself, but you know, if you know you have a service that can help people, you have to let them know. And remember that every single time. Okay, that's it. I think I did that maybe in 9 minutes, sorry. But any questions, comments, or of course I will take a standing ovation if anyone would like.
Well, first of all, standing ovation from me and the audience. I mean, I'm sitting, but awesome. I'm gonna defer to everybody else. Any thoughts, comments, and
Can we stop
questions for
sharing real
Jennifer?
quick?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Jennifer, if you stop the
Yeah.
sharing,
All
that would be
set.
awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any
Jennifer,
comments?
yes, I am married, but I love you to death. That
Yeah.
was such an amazing speech. Let me tell, because too many people sell by self-value, and they lose sales because of how they perceive themselves,
Correct.
and they sell themselves at that level. And everything that you spoke about today, like I've had conversations about with people that have been successful and unsuccessful, and it was amazing to hear from you. I'm gonna set a one-on-one with you because I
Right.
want to give you a spot on Journals TV, and I'll explain to you on that one-on-one what that is, because I think the value of what you say needs to be heard by 99% of the people who try to sell, because it was it was very powerful, and I think it hit that emotional spot that people miss out on. And it's not about selling, it's about creating relationships and creating collaborations, which creates long journeys for both parties. So I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, I'm really thrilled that you two are going to connect because that's why I do this thing. And Jennifer, I do, I'll also send you Diego's contact details so you can kind of do a deep dive before you talk with him. Something that you said for me resonated was you said when people are taught how to sell. I think that might be almost overly kind to when you're speaking to people like us. I spent my career in marketing. I wasn't taught how to sell. So all the advice, counsel, tips that I picked up along the way were from salespeople who I think, to your point earlier, were doing it the way they learned, which was a sales-centric approach, which you said is the transaction, if I understand.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the
I'm,
tactical, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
tactical, and that it just for 99% of the time, that's not how you want to build a business.
Anybody else have any comments, thoughts, questions? I mean, I want to just capture Jennifer's gray matter for us before we go on. Mitch.
Yeah, I think everything you said was spot on, and a lot of it is around the word patience and resilience, right? So for me, I look at it and I say that, okay, I may not have had the sale that moment. I have to stay in touch with them. I have to maintain, some type of communication, which leads me to be resilient with them, and eventually something that will pop. And I think another part of being resilient is the ability to use these things, right? The more you listen, the longer you can develop that relationship and a better and deeper relationship with a potential client, rather than you come in, you do a job, and you leave.
I just signed a new client, you guys, that the last time I spoke to her was 2023. And she reached out and she said, I'm ready. Let's go. And we're working together. I mean, it was like so simple. But we initially spoke about this, and I've always kept in touch with her. I've always, found ways to create value for her, and kept her in my world. And I've got some great strategies if anyone wants them about how to do that, but really consistently creating value and being a resource is the bottom line. You're muted.
You're silent.
What?
You're
Before we
silent.
let Jennifer, shut up. before we let Jennifer go, I want to make sure anybody has any last questions. Obviously, I've sent you all the link to her LinkedIn profile. You should all be messaging her to send a customized intro invite to connect for sure. But any last questions, comments before we? Oh, and Jennifer, this is being recorded, so I'll let you know when I put the video onto my YouTube under this group playlist, and so that you can repurpose it however you want in your marketing.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Any comments, questions for the guru?
Thank you. That was amazing. Love it.
Absolutely, thank you.
I'm looking forward to the fact that Jennifer's going to be doing our top of mind speaker series down the road in a little bit. So stay tuned for information, how you can catch her next day.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate
Jennifer.
you.
You're
Thank
so
you, Jennifer.
welcome.
Thank
I'll
you.
exit out here, Ethan.
Much love. Much
Okay,
love. I'll
thanks,
follow
guys.
up.
Bye,
Yeah.
my friend.
So yeah, I hope that was helpful. There are quite a few folks who were not able to make it today. I'm gonna basically not break us up into breakup groups because there aren't enough. So let's just stay in this group right now, and invest maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes of our time. The topic is client retention. And I hope this is a good segue from Jennifer's talk. So we get clients, right? What strategy specifically are you using to retain clients? So not just vague kind of general, what specifically do you do to retain clients by cultivating the relationship? And so I just open up the floor to anybody who has some best ideas, practice on that.
I think she had great points, and I think one of the things that makes me successful at what I do and the people that I'm in conversations with is the fact that it's not about selling to me, it's about that relationship.
What
It's about
specifically do you do in your mindset where you're
they
not
know I'm
selling?
invested in them. They know for a fact in conversation
How?
that I'm invested through whatever. Well, that depends on what project it is. But they know when I speak to them that their success creates value for us also. So they know that I'm very invested in creating a successful journey for them because that also relates to how we look. So when we build their project that way and we explain to them that this is a collaboration. If we're not here to fail you, we're here to make you successful and create results. And when we show them how much we're invested in creating those results for them, we get that long-term client.
So
And they don't
take a specific client and give an example, please, of how specifically you can demonstrate that you are a strategic partner. Like, how specifically do you do that? Because you and I have talked a lot about what you do.
Sure. So, for example, our recent clients, Diane Wetford. Fun fact, she was actually Elvis's girlfriend. Her book, she just released a new book, and we were very excited to do a promotion and an advertisement for her. She had issues with her publisher in covering a certain space. For the cost of what she paid us, I told her we will take a hit in the first month and we will take on the space that she lost to create the conversion that she wants. She got a higher conversion than she expected. Next month, we made more money than we expected because she bought more marketing because it was doing so well. So that's one way that we do. We show our clients that we're invested in their success. And that didn't take money from us. It just took a little more time and a little bit more work.
Thank you first. I mean, that's what do other folks do? How do you retain clients? What works for you?
So for me, my one client that I spend a lot of time with, I came on board when they had an interim CEO. So my job, the first thing to do was to acquire a new CEO. From the beginning, that process meant I did a lot of communication. I was always on the phone, always emailing, always keeping each of the applicants. updated. As we got to the end of the road and we were down to the selection of two, there was a lot of delay coming from the board, but my job was to stay very close with these two final guys. Once they made that selection, and then finally he came on board, the way I was able to retain him, because the expectation was that earlier this week I was going to lose him. But what I had done the week prior is I had spent some time with him. I had a presentation. I didn't need to go through it. I gave it to him. But it was all about my observations of things that I have seen in the organization where he can focus on. And it didn't include just the HR piece. It included things around communication, community involvement, opportunities for revenue enhancement. So I tried to provide to him some things that I saw that frustrated me if I were an employee, but were enlightening to him. He called me back just yesterday, and the decision is to retain me. We're talking about a renegotiation of my contract, but a lot of what he said to me is, Mitch, you spent the time with my business even before I was here, but you didn't just do what you were supposed to do. You were doing things with your ears and your eyes, and you were being very observant. And those things make me say, you are going to be somebody I need to stay in touch with.
Amazing.
And I need your voice. So
What do other folks think of what Mitch said about literally sharing with a client? These are my observations. Basically watching you, learning about your business, because I'm blown away with how powerful that must have been received. So what do you all think? And do you do things similar to that?
I love that. That just put Mitch in a whole different level. I love that.
What do you mean?
Because it puts him in the perspective of the client. For him to invest in understanding the business that at that level, it just puts him in the perspective of the client. This is like what I said. It just shows that investment level. I take every client that I have, and it's that investment level that makes the difference. And what Mitch did is he showed that value. He invested in a way to show the client that I value just as much as you value your own company. And I love that.
Phil Daya, what do you think? Whether it's Mitch's strategy or what do you do in your own world that maximizes the likelihood a client's going to retain your services?
Or keep and expand. I think, fresh ideas and values. And I mean, I have an extensive network, so I'm actually referring my clients' business and referrals, partners, all the time. Kind of have to make sure that they want them, like, because some people aren't as avid networkers as I am, but yeah, always keeping them relevant.
I'm curious what you all think of this, because what they just said, I have a client that just told me they're not going to continue. We basically signed an agreement in December for a 3-month initial retainer. I've made significant introductions for them. I've made significant recommendations on how to market their cybersecurity firm here in New York City. The gentleman has no follow-up, no cubicle mindset, Diego. Never says thank you, never follows up on the introductions, or if he does, it's never any kind. How might you deal with it? My guess is he's not the right person for me. And I see, Mitch, you're kind of giving me the one finger salute.
I'm telling you that's how I see it. He is, or she is, whoever they are.
Yeah.
They are a client of yours that you are your reputation is based upon who you associate with.
Yep.
And if this person is doing it to you, they're doing it to a lot of other people they work with, outside vendors for a variety of things. You're better off that they didn't renew you.
But, Mitch, you said something is interesting that I'm going to do. I had emailed him kind of some thoughts about us kind of after March. I'm going to send him a deck. I'm going to send him just 2 or 3 slides that say my observations. Because this is what I typically do for clients that I've been working with a little bit longer, but this is obviously a pure transaction. How do you all deal with those clients that, yeah, Diego, and then I was going to ask, how do you get from clients who are transactions to clients who are valuable relationships? And then we'll kind of wrap up, and I want to go to a section we never talked about, which is sharing in our
So-
meetings. Yeah.
What my question to you is, why are you going to invest in someone that shows that they're not invested in their own success themselves? That's part of like what how I work is if I see someone that's not invested in themselves, I know it's going to impact me and impact the value of what I do. So, and I know the value of you. So why are you going to continuously invest in someone that's not invested in their own self? They're
Great
not
point. Yeah, great point. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to say, let's take Ethan out of the equation, but I really appreciate you being kind enough to focus on me. Let's make it more like for everybody. What would you do in that scenario? Because I'm sure one of you may have had a client in the past who exhibited that behavior. How do you approach that client who just, they're not taking your advice and counsel? They're not being the kind of client we want them to be.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes it could be hard to get them to operate within your system and how and learned, I guess, over the hard way that, got to be real assertive and dictate if you want them to operate in the way you want them to operate versus kind of just falling into the way that they're doing things. So I think, to your point, oil and water sometimes is just, you gotta kind of, I've always found that, being blunt and abrupt so that it'll weed people out pretty quickly. from a certain perspective. So, I mean, you seem like the kind of guy that's got no problem with it. So I'm sure it was not a great relationship for a while before it was ultimately, came to an end. But I mean, I guess more generally speaking, I think firing clients it sometimes is a necessary evil to maintain your sanity if it just doesn't work.
I graduate them, I move them on and say, hey, we're not the best fit. But I use
like
other
that.
people in my network. I either say, hey, our work is done, or we're, we've gotten to where we can get. And I'm very I'm in the middle anyway. Like I don't, when people I expect people to outgrow me. And then I seat them with other coaches. Maybe they'll need an executive coach. Maybe they need a sales coach. Maybe they need something else. It's like I'm in that sort of middle space and I like it. And there are people who I do not work well with, period. And I need to kind of overcome in my conflict avoidance. Because sometimes I get sent people too that are consulting agreements and I need to get over hey, you know what? We're not really going to work well together. Right. Let's go ahead and get you somebody else. So.
Just to file away, I do work with quite a few small to mid-sized law firms. So if you ever find yourself dealing with an individual, maybe a managing partner, somebody on their leadership team who's looking to kind of bring in somebody to work with their leadership team, I'd be happy to have that intro if we get there. So what again, just to kind of wrap up this meeting's kind of focus subject, as we think to the second quarter, we're done with Q1, basically, we're done. In the second quarter, one of my things I wanted to ask you is please think about, from your selfish perspective, what you would like this group to offer you in the coming months in the second quarter. We have one quarter under our belt. So that's my request for each of you. Think about how we make this more valuable. Again, I would love it if next month, everybody could bring at least one person into this group that you think could benefit them. Maybe it's a client. Maybe it's a potential client. So next month, the individual who's speaking is Mark Osborne, he's got his own particular flavor on sales growth success. So he'll be our speaker for April. I'd love to shift the conversation in our time remaining to anything you'd like to share about what you're working on, successes, victories, anything you'd like to share as far as invaluable resources for the group. And then while you're doing that, I actually want to share my screen with you for a second. So please bear with me. Okay, we have a LinkedIn group. And I know some of you are already members. If you're not a member, please go into LinkedIn, go search on groups, the Co-op Business Relationship Group. I should have already invited you, but if I did it, mea culpa, and please, request to join. That's the only thing I would share with you. Anything you'd like to share that you're working on that we should know as a group? Oh, also, Fred Kaplan, who couldn't be with us today, he will be doing the member spotlight presentation next month. So we need folks starting in and after May. That's a chance to give your deeper dive spotlight
Right.
on who you are, what you do, who you do it for. Shares, ideas, resources, what you're working on that we should know.
I think for me, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I just hit or I will at the end of this month, my first full year is being a fractional, being out on my own.
Yay.
And
Mazel tov.
I haven't given up. And I will tell you that I'm excited about that. And thank you. I really appreciate that. It's a slug, but the thing
Yes.
that I'm finding out that works the best for me is I'm asking a lot of questions, and something that has been said to me is slow things down. So I'm building relationships very much like Jennifer said, as opposed to transactional. So I have to learn to be patient, that it takes time. You know, I'm learning about things that I never had to worry about. I spent way too many years in corporate America. Now what I'm learning is there are ways to stay in touch with people that are in my network that may or may not be potential clients. And that's providing them with some type of education. So what did I do this week? I said, you know what? You know, with all the things that are going on in the country, and there is a focus on immigrants and immigration, there are industries and there are people out there that are worried about their staff because they may not be legally documented. So I put together a quick one pager on what to do if ICE shows up, or how to make sure that before ICE shows up, you have all the documentation that you need. You've done the full scale audit. And so I've learned that those are things that I need to do to push out to my network so that people don't forget who I am. And that's how I found Jennifer.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in right now. That is phenomenal. And I know you do that. But my question is, can you email this entire group and say literally what you just did, 2 or 3 sentences,
Yeah.
you know, why you did it, who it'll benefit, and to tell everybody in the group, I would appreciate if you could share this in your networks and think of me as you're talking to somebody who may have a need for this.
Absolutely.
Because absolutely. I'll say something from my perspective. I agreed with everything she said, but we're in tough times. You know, you have 100 conversations, 98% of them, their like mind is elsewhere. They're looking at you as a cash register with limbs. They're only focused on the transaction themselves, and they're coming at it from a very aggressive me standpoint. It's that whole Adam Grant taker. So my challenge is, how do I not talk to those 90 some odd people? And I'm being very honest. I've spent the better part of from last year when we reorganized this group, and I'll share with you all, getting the right people in the room with me. I want the people who respond when I email you all. I want the people who don't just wait month after month and show up here and then I never hear from them. That's what this group is supposed to be about. It's not a networking group for a very specific reason, because everybody's playing molecule wars, going from meeting to meeting, group to group, looking to do things the same way and expect a different outcome. So I'm planting my seed. This is not a networking group. It's a relationship cultivation group. We're planting seeds to harvest the crop of amazing relationship cultivation. That's the one-on-ones. And please don't forget, I exist too. I'm not just the person who's facilitating this shit. I'm doing this shit every day. So please be kind and remember me. I'm done. What else you got going on in our time around? If you want to bank the remaining 8 minutes and call it quits, just let me know what you would like our group to know that you're working on that we can promote.
Ethan, just wanted to thank you for facilitating this group.
Shut up.
and being no, and seriously, and being vulnerable. You're always vulnerable,
It
and I think
hurts.
that's great.
I'm nothing if not vulnerable.
Yes. Just Mitch, congratulations on on a year. I think me and Mitch started the same time. So
Okay.
at the end of this month,
Celebrate.
I'll be celebrating my 1 year in business. And I was having a conversation with a networking partner yesterday who's a coach. And I was telling her that I've been trusting the process of, just building my network, trying to get deeper, deeper connections. And kind of like Jennifer said, that the business that you get now is things that you've done over the last 6 months. Over the last 2 weeks, yeah, I've added 5 new people to my pipeline that hopefully I
Good.
can, they'll turn into business. I think.
And which of those 5 are you inviting to the April 17th meeting?
I think there's another client that I will try to invite to the meeting. But just one other thing that I just discovered, I'm sure a lot of people have discovered this previously, was I just started using an AI note taker, Fathom, and was having a meeting with somebody, and as soon as the meeting was over, he sent me the email, and like it was like spot on. I'm like, wow, what is this? And he said it's Fathom, and I started using it, and it allows me not to take notes during my meetings. Um, and the summaries are spot on, but also I can review the video. And so what I'll do is if I have a client meeting, and say it's a half hour, I'll review it and I'll just fast forward through all the parts where I talked, and just, now you're looking at just 15 minutes or 18 minutes of what they're talking, and it's very helpful. So Fathom, I think it's
Yeah.
Fathom.video.
Adam's good.
And-
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what you can do is you go into, whether it's ChatGPT or whatever your AI platform of choice is teach it about you. So you say, tell me about Mark Half. And then when it gives you whatever answer, that's what it's able to pick up from your various social media website, your posts. And then you can say, add to that. And then you just are constantly take out of Fathom the comments about it. And Diego's going to jump in, but you're constantly teaching AI about you, because that's what is going to be said about you in
And
terms of the AI world.
One more thing I want to add to that is the good thing about Fathom is while I'm having the meeting, it'll tell me how much of the meeting I'm talking, right? And if it's over 50%, I'm like, okay, I got to shut up, right?
Not
So I like
necessarily,
that.
depends on what that conversation was intended for. If there was an agenda, if it's a meet and greet, yeah, you should be no more than 50.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I can argue that no matter what the meeting is, I don't want to, I should not speak more than 50.
Yeah.
You're doing a presentation or you're informing
Well-
or educating.
Yeah, but I think, okay. Yeah.
Scenario based.
Yeah, it depends.
Anyway, Diego, you were going to say, and then we'll
No,
call it.
I advise everybody to really look into your Microsoft 365 applications. Like I've literally saved over $300 by really understanding the Microsoft ecosystem, because it does all that. Like
Yeah, it has
Microsoft
it already.
last 2 years has really took over the like AI, everything. Like I can literally go do something in AI, export it into Pages. Pages can go into Excel, it can go into Word, it can go into anywhere. Like it's worth it because it all works together seamlessly and it's all a part of the same system. And I can go into my meetings. If I'm doing a Teams meetings, it goes automatically to a recording where I can take it to the Microsoft editor, like seamlessly. Like it's an amazing ecosystem that has really grew. And like I said, I've saved probably
It's
over
included.
$500. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can build your own everything in there, like your own Monday.com. It's just really ridiculous. I recommend people to just really
Oh,
study.
cool.
I do an hour like every morning learning about Loop and everything inside of it.
Loop and Copilot. And
Yeah.
I have to learn it. I've only recently gone back to Microsoft after about a 7-year break. But yeah, so I could cancel Zoom, Fireflies, multiple things that I have on annual now. So I'm going to think about it when they come back up.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Like I didn't know it was that hype. Like I was
It's
like,
gotten
whoa.
better. It increased like really over the last 6 months. It's been night and
Yeah.
day.
And they're making everything to work seamlessly together, like from everywhere. So
Any
cool.
last kind of requests, resource share, noteworthy things before we kind of wrap up today's meeting?
Well,
I'll
I
say
mean,
one more thing. I appreciate everyone here. Like I come to this meeting not to speak, but to really listen to everyone and learn from you guys. So Mark, Mitch, Dana, like Phil, sometimes you say something, sometimes you just you're looking at the other screen. But I really truly do appreciate like the time that you spend when you come to speak and you tell us about your company. Mark, I really do pay attention to you, my friend. And like from last meeting to this meeting, your speech, like I really heard your name in your presentation. That made me feel really good because like everybody, like your value is so much more than what you sell. And so I just want to say I appreciate every one of you. So
Thank you, Diego.
I was just gonna say I'm getting ready to kick off my spring road show. So I will be in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Tyson's Corner, April and May, and I will be speaking. So I'm putting on speaking events. So especially for attorneys, but I said, hey, if the room's not full, then I will put in some other people as well. I'd love to have a full house. Some of my rooms are big, 30 people. Some of my rooms are small, like 12 people, but I'm speaking in all those cities in the spring.
Awesome. Well, best of luck with that.
Events in person only, or do they have a kind of virtual join? It's all in person.
Mhm.
If you can send me and or the group
The
the
schedule?
dates,
Mhm.
dates and locations and like a 2 or 3 sentence summary, because for example, Diego's in Gaithersburg. I mean, he's right, not too far from Tyson's Corner, but let us know.
Okay.
This, again, this is intended as a group to provide mutual support as we all work, as Mitch said, every day in this roller coaster of cultivating relationships by planting seeds.
Awesome.
Thank you. And my work here is done. And why are you wearing a shirt and a tie? Because it's been so long that I could actually get my girth into them that I
Celebrating.
stopped wearing them. But as of yesterday, 40 pounds down, 23 to
Nice.
go.
Wow, don't be any of you left. Wow.
Yeah, I'm doing the Vanishing Man, and I just joined a seniors softball league, and we had a flag football yesterday, and I was the spring chicken.
Nice.
God bless you.
I'm glad to hear the legs feeling better then, getting around.
Uh-huh.
Make sure you s-
I don't know if you've ever heard of the football, the offense, the rattle and hum. Mine was the waddle and lob, but
Whatever works. Whatever works.
anyway, I grow weary. Take
All right.
care.
Bye,
Be
y'all.
well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
My
everybody.
last,
You're great.
my last
Thank you
bit of
all.
advice,
Oh.
Oh,
spend 15 minutes every day nourishing your own soul, at
Amen.
least.
Yep.
bye, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Have a
Bye.
great day, everyone.
Thank
Take
you all.
care.